This is the Watchman giving a clarion call. Folks, the world literally seems to be sliding off the rails of late on several fronts. There are so many market and geopolitical events that are now building up so much energy that to me it seems more than likely that some type of showdown or dramatic resolution of these events is likely to take place. There appear to be a lot of moving pieces on the board right now. Serious plays are being made, and serious fake crises being orchestrated. But the thing which has caught my attention these last few weeks has been the intensifying of two wars being fought between East and West. The first war being fought that I'd like to bring further attention to, of course, is the monetary war. Now, China has been firing many salvos of their own over the past few weeks, some of which I've previously written about. It's come out that they've been dumping U.S. Treasury bonds. The word has hit the wire that in August alone they dumped roughly $100 billion of treasuries. Mostly, they said, in order to help manage the yuan and prop up their stock markets. A very good cover story, to be sure. Now, 100 billion is serious cash. Russia also has been dumping treasuries on their balance sheet, but it's been more like 60 billion, and it was done roughly over a year's time. Now, a year's time to dump 60 billion, that's an average of about 5 billion per month. And the Fed, Treasury, and other central banking partners can easily manage that. But 100 billion in 1 month? That's 20 times faster than Russia has been dumping theirs. And I'm sure it's been causing some real panic behind the scenes at the Fed and elsewhere. And if that wasn't enough, we've now received confirmation that China's new golden strategy has had liftoff. Okay, it's absolutely changed. As in just the past week, the PBOC revealed a newly updated gold reserve total once again. Now, you'll remember 3 months ago, China bumped their reserves from basically 1,050 tons to 1,660 tons in a month. And then they updated it again the next month by nearly 20 tons. And I'd been wondering if this meant there was a new mode of operation at the People's Bank of China. And this week we got that confirmation because we learn now that the PBOC has purchased another 16 tons of gold last month in August. Now, this is approximately annualized about 200 tons a year, just a hair above the pace of the Russian central bank's accumulation for the last 2 years. Now, though, China has also fired another shot, another monetary shot across the bow, by marking their gold to market. This is an enormous deal. In these actions, there's an unmistakable message to Washington, Wall Street, and London that the East is assaulting their bases of operation, that their mechanisms of power are under the gun. Any one of these things which I've just spoken about alone would be serious by itself, yes, but put together, you've got a monetary trifecta that is of the utmost importance. Okay, these are serious straws in the monetary winds for sure. Now that's the monetary war heating up, and that's a big deal, but unfortunately, that's not the only war that's heating up. For now, I want to speak to the real hot wars in our world taking place right now. And I'm going to start doing that by referring to something, a process that I don't normally do. Okay, I'm going to address something and outwardly speculate on it. And that's what this next part is for the next few minutes, speculation. So please don't treat it as gospel. These are ruminations of the Watchman only, but I will tie it into actual proven events. I want to speak to the recent unexplained explosions that are plaguing China right now. Now you might be thinking, oh, Watchman, Tianjin, everyone has hyped up that Tianjin blast and talked of every conceivable culprit or cause. I'm kind of burned out on Tianjin, Watchman. Look, I understand. Back when it happened, I watched that mile-high plume of fire and smoke and carefully listened to every voice on the matter whom I respected. And I filed it all away under the wait and see category, as that's what I do with most other things. I don't like to hype things, especially things that I can't prove. That's not my style. I told myself as this was if this was something accidental, truly an accident, then the evidence and investigations would likely point in that direction, and quickly. However, I also knew that if it was something else, something sinister, we'd likely see more signs of that manifesting before long as well. And little did I realize how short my wait would be. Because within 1 week, another explosion, this time in Shandong, occurred. Now, it wasn't as big as the first blast, but it had many shared traits as the Tianjin blast, and it hit an eerily similar plant. Now, at that point, my spidey senses were tingling. I sat back and thought, wait a minute. Twice in 1 week? Now, what are the odds of this? Not impossible, to be sure, but a long shot. Now my attention was piqued, my curiosity was honed. So I waited, and then in 1 more week, a third explosion rocked China, again in Shandong. And by this point, a lot changed in my mind. Okay, I want to ask a question out there. Are there any James Bond fans out there among our Shield brothers? Well, good. I hope so. Bond's a pretty cool character. Well, Ian Fleming, the noted author who created the James Bond character and series, once wrote something in that series that James Bond used as a rule of thumb, a litmus test, to determine hostile involvement. And I'll be quite honest, I haven't been able to shake that phrase or get it out of my head these past few weeks. And that phrase goes something like this, quote, "Once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, 3 times is an enemy action." Okay, so we had our 3 weird explosions, more than enough to solidify that something malevolent is likely going on. When suddenly, just yesterday, a 4th explosion went off just the other night, this time in Zhejiang. It's now crystal clear in my mind that something is afoot here, okay? Something that I can't quite put my finger on is happening. Someone else is likely taking it seriously too, because within just days of these explosions, Beijing sent a fleet of warships for the first time into the Bering Sea. Not just into the Bering Sea, 12 miles from the Alaskan coast. Now, I'm beginning to grow a little concerned, okay? I know that it sounds a little weird, but I'm saying if you couple this real monetary war, which we know is happening, these gold volleys, these treasury volleys being fired on the one hand, and you look at the nearly half-dozen Chinese plant explosions in 1 month, the Chinese Navy sending a fleet into the Bering Sea for the first time, and now you have warnings from Kerry, John Kerry, on Russian involvement in Syria, the warnings from D.C. Against European countries even allowing Russia to use their airspace to provide aid to Syria. Then, ladies and gentlemen, you have an unnerving cornucopia of events. Up until now, the struggle between major superpowers have been proxy struggles. Okay, they've been fought with sanctions, they've been fought with covert actions, or they've been fought with hired cells fighting each other on behalf of a larger sponsor. Okay, it was bad, but it could have been much, much worse. It could have blown into something much larger. Thankfully, thanks to cooler heads, regional wars have been kept regional, and all-out wars between much larger countries or continents have been prevented both in Syria and in Ukraine. Now, though, for instance, you're seeing actual Russian boots on the ground, something not previously seen in Syria in the last 4 years of struggle. Now you're seeing Putin deciding to actually build an airbase in Syria to launch airstrikes against ISIS with. Now you're seeing DC threaten Russia over their involvement in Syria, even going so far as to pressure Bulgaria, Greece, not to even allow Russian planes to use their airspace. Brothers, let me say this. Okay, if Russian Federation troops are in Syria, and that seems to be the case, this is highly troubling because it means the situation is far more serious than we'd previously imagined. Boots on the ground is not Putin's style. In his mind, that's a reserved action for a last-ditch effort. Assad's government and the war effort against Western agents must be dancing on a knife's edge. If Putin is there, he believes he literally has no other choice. And if DC banksters are threatening Europe and Russia over Syria, then the Obama administration also believes that they have no other choice to stick save their agenda there. This is a highly volatile situation. Okay, when leaders of superpowers who are already on collision courses in many areas are backed into corners, the odds of a serious conflagration are significantly heightened. Now, I bring this up because it commands our attention. Okay, let's pray that the larger conflict may yet be contained between the monetary wars and the proxy wars, and now the real wars. Because, brothers, as I see it, and I'd love to be wrong about this, all the kindling seems there. The proverbial powder keg is there, filled to the brim. All that's needed now is the right spark, the right match to be lit, to light that fuse for something very regrettable to occur. This is the Watchman signing out. Stay vigilant and bring the fight to them.